Alright, I'm calling it right now. It's over. I'm not a big fan of the DC Extended Universe. It's had its problems, but I feel like this, what I'm about to talk about, is definitely the breaking point for it, where I believe that this is done. What I'm about to talk about in this video is the fact that Ben Affleck physically and publicly came out and said he does not want to play the Batman anymore, and what that means for the DCEU, the fallout with Ben Affleck and Warner Brothers, and just other problems that the DC Extended Universe has encountered so far. I hope when I talk about these issues in this video, I don't come across as a biased Marvel fan. Like, just being a straight out Marvel fan and hating DC, because that is not true. I really love DC. I love Marvel. I love them both. But the thing is that Batman and Superman are my two favorite superheroes. The Dark Knight trilogy is by far the best superhero trilogy we have gotten. Superman 1, I love. Superman 2, I like. The others can go fuck off. The two Michael Keaton Batman movies, I really like the first one. I think the second one's okay, and then the rest can go screw themselves as well. The thing is that DC hasn't really made any good movies, and you would think that after the Dark Knight trilogy, they would have found their niche! For Christ's sake! Probably already tell I'm not a big fan of this universe. I went into Man of Steel with high hopes and left the theater very disappointed. While at the time I still did like it, with subsequent viewings I really grew to not like it, and at this point really despise the hell out of that movie. Two biggest problems, maybe three biggest problems, with Man of Steel are the fact that they stripped away the core of what makes Superman Superman. They made a little couple of changes here and there that I just couldn't live with. They were minor to a lot of people, they were major to me, and I didn't buy the whole Clark Kent Lois Lane romance thing. Now I understand. There are fans of Man of Steel, and I understand why, because that is the Superman movie that people were waiting for after the disappointment that was Superman Returns. Here's where I feel the problems for the DC cinematic universe or extended universe or whatever it's called, because there's like 5 different names, really start. I feel as though, I just thought about this today, I feel as though Man of Steel wasn't supposed to be part of or the start of a cinematic universe. I think Warner Brothers really just kind of freaked out because Harry Potter was off their calendar. The Dark Knight trilogy had ended. They were releasing this film. This film didn't get that great of reviews, and it kind of bombed at the box office when you really look at it. The thing is that they also saw what Marvel was doing, and they're like, well, shit. Marvel's got a whole cinematic universe. Let's catch up to them in the next movie. Batman v Superman. You have Batman versus Superman with Wonder Woman in there, and you fight Doomsday. This movie should have been the greatest thing ever made in the history of cinema. But not when you cast Pipsqueak as Lex Luthor Jr. Man of Steel was a problem. Batman v Superman was a problem. Suicide Squad was a problem for me. The choice of actors is a problem for me. Henry Cavill as Superman, I think he's a very wooden actor. I feel like he was just cast as Superman because he looks like Superman. Amy Adams, as great of an actress she is, very miscast as Lois Lane. The only things I really think they got right were Ben Affleck as Batman and Lawrence Fishburne as Perry White. Let's go back to Suicide Squad for a minute, because this is where the behind-the-scenes stuff really gets interesting. And it's really actually kind of during Batman v Superman, before it's released, during its release, and after its release. So I'll go back that far. Batman v Superman, not really all that well reviewed. 44 out of 100 on Metacritic. I think it's got like a 23% on Rotten Tomatoes. This movie didn't even make $875 million. You would think a movie starring Batman and Superman would cross $1 billion easily, get close to $2 billion. That did not happen. Warner Brothers took a very big hit with that. They were very disappointed. They said Suicide Squad had to make at least 900 million, and I don't think it did. I think it made like 8 something. Don't quote me on it. So I mean, it made enough, you know. It made close to 900 million. Um, but I mean, before Batman v Superman, you had a lot of directors leaving future DC projects. I mean, how many directors has Aquaman gone through right now? Nobody in this extended universe has really had their own solo movie. Just really, when you think about it, Superman. It's Superman, Batman v Superman, Suicide Squad. I mean, Wonder Woman's getting her own solo movie, and then Justice League. I mean, that's not really a good formula for success. I mean, look at how Marvel did it. I mean, they had a structure. Marvel has a structure. That's the thing. I'm not trying to say this as like, oh, Marvel's the be all end all, because they're not. It's just Marvel had a plan, and they stuck to that plan. They had somebody calling the shots and telling these directors and writers who want to make these movies like what to do, who these characters are, what needs to be included, what storyline should be adapted. And of course, there have been a couple of falling outs with Marvel. Most notably, Edgar Wright with Ant-Man, Edward Norton with the Hulk. I think that's all I can think of. I think there's a couple more, but that's all I can think of. And you see that DC has fired Zack Snyder from being the head of this universe and has replaced him with Ben Affleck and Jeff Johns. That's a really low blow to Zack Snyder. I have a couple of his films, like 300, Watchmen. I mean, his films are enjoyable, except for these two that he made in this universe. They're not good. I mean, people want him to direct the Batman? No. And then you have David Ayer making Suicide Squad. He's really hit or miss with me. He's got 3 really good movies that I really like. One guilty pleasure. The others are kind of just boneheaded. But the thing with him is that he just went fuck Marvel. And then you find out that there was this article released when I think it was when opening weekend for Suicide Squad, that the head of Warner Brothers only gave David Ayer 6 weeks or something like that. It was 6 weeks, I think, to write the script for Suicide Squad, and look at how that turned out. First of all, that's insane. Second of all, David Ayer shouldn't have even agreed to that. Why would you agree to that? Aquaman. Who the hell is directing that movie? Last time I knew it was James Wan. I think it still is. I don't think he left the project yet, but I mean, it's gone through a couple of directors. Like, there was I think it was the guy that did Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter. I don't know his name, but he was supposed to be writing and directing Aquaman. That is no longer happening because he had a fallout with Warner Brothers. And now we get into the Ben Affleck stuff. The stuff that has kind of been making headlines over the past couple of weeks that I just haven't had time to talk about. And I saw something yesterday. I think it was an article released yesterday. And I want to talk about this article because the past few weeks we found out that Ben Affleck dropped out from directing the Batman. Which is fine, understandable. If he feels he can't bring his vision of his script of what he had for the Batman to life, okay, let somebody else handle it. Just focus on the acting. You wrote the script. Just focus on those 2 things and make the movie as good as possible. The article alluded to the fact that his script is actually being rewritten and that he no longer wants to play Batman, which I think really stems from his last movie, Live by Night. If you don't know what Live by Night is, it's like a drama that takes, or like a crime thriller that takes place in 1930s Boston. He's in a gang. Yeah, Ben Affleck has made some really good movies. The Town, Argo, Gone Baby Gone. Everybody has their slew of good movies, and every filmmaker has 1 or 2 here and there that's a miss. That was a miss with critics, that was a miss with audiences. Okay, that's fine. I feel like this whole thing, with him not wanting to direct the Batman, now the script being rewritten, him not wanting to play Batman anymore, is really from that. And I think that is a really low blow on Warner Brothers. Because apparently, with Live by Night, they lost $75 million in profit. And I think Warner Brothers is really pissed at Ben Affleck. Like, super pissed. It's... Studio interference is one of my least favorite things in filmmaking. It's just something you don't want to read about and something that you don't want to see. I mean, you don't see it when you watch a film. But the thing is that you can tell. You can tell Man of Steel was supposed to be the start of a Superman trilogy. Not an entire cinematic universe. You could tell Warner Brothers wanted to just make a straightforward, straight Superman trilogy. Like they did with the Dark Knight trilogy. Then they were like, oh, we have Marvel as our competitors. Let's do what they're doing, but instead of doing solo movies, let's just cram every superhero we have into one movie and have them film like 5-second cameos that appear in a fucking email. If I sound biased, I'm sorry. I'm trying not to. I love all superheroes. I love DC. I love Marvel. I have a lot of the Marvel movies. There are some behind me. But it's just, I think Marvel has a clear path. They knew what they wanted to do. They stuck with what they wanted to do. They're still sticking with what they want to do. And they're accomplishing what they want to do. They're getting critical success. They're getting financial success. They're getting people to go to second viewings of their movies. That's not happening for DC. They're getting critically panned. The acting is awful. Nobody's going back for second viewings. Batman v Superman and Suicide Squad both had a 68% drop in their second weekends. That is bad. What pisses me off is the DC fans saying that their movies are perfect, that Marvel is for kids, and that they call the Marvel fans Marvel tards, and that Disney pays off critics. No. Bullshit. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, DC fans. This is what I hate. Of course, it's a rivalry. I get it. It's like the Red Sox and the Yankees. It's like the Bruins and the Canadians. Except it's like the Democrats and the Republicans. Except this time it's Marvel versus DC. The thing is when I go on social media and I go on IMDb or other websites that have message boards, you know what I see from Marvel fans? I don't see them attacking DC fans. I see them actually talking about films. Films that they like. You know what I see from DC fans? I see them, Marvel sucks. It's for kids. All the fans are Marvel tards. Age of Ultron, Thor, The Dark World, Iron Man 3 suck. It's proof the Marvel Cinematic Universe is fake and pathetic. First of all, you're using 3 films as your excuse, and there's 14 of them. So what about the other 11? Do those suck? Or is it just those 3? That's what I want to know. Second of all, calling somebody a Marvel tard, I hate to use tard in this video, but because I know that might offend some people, but I just feel like it's a term that has to be addressed because these films are not perfect. The Marvel films are not perfect. There's a few things wrong with them, mostly the villains. The villains aren't very developed. I can tell you that right now. But you know what? They're still enjoyable. You have a fun time watching them. That's what I don't have with DC. That's the thing. Marvel needs DC to have good movies, to get critical praise. That way there can be the competition, and people will go and see superhero movies. If your movies fail at the box office and get critically panned like Suicide Squad and Batman v Superman did, nobody's going to want to go see your movies or any other superhero movies of this caliber ever again. interest is just gonna wane, and I feel like that really happened with Captain America Civil War. I don't think that made as much money as people thought it could have. It definitely doesn't have a lot of votes on IMDb, or as much as some of the other I'm confusing my words now. As much as some of the other Marvel movies. Doctor Strange is barely hasn't even cracked 200,000 votes on IMDb. X-Men Apocalypse hasn't even cracked like 250,000. I'm just gonna get off this topic, and yeah. Okay, that's my rant on the Marvel versus DC fanboy thing. I get, okay. Just one final word though. I get that there are, I must reiterate, I know that there are fans, and that is fine. That is perfectly fine. A lot of people don't like these films, me personally, from the DC Extended Universe. But I understand that there are fans out there. That's fine. You're entitled to your own opinion. It's just, my opinion is I understand that there was some studio interference with the Marvel films, particularly with Edward Norton, Edgar Wright with Ant-Man. I think there were a couple other things that I can't think of off the top of my head, but I feel like it's more common with Warner Brothers. Because to me, this whole universe is a huge cash grab. I feel like Warner Brothers doesn't care anymore if their movies are good. I felt like they haven't since the Dark Knight trilogy ended. Ever since then, I feel like they're just like, we need to turn out a franchise. Doesn't matter if it's bad or good. We just need to make some money. That's how I feel Warner Brothers operates. And they've probably operated like that even before the Dark Knight trilogy. Before Harry Potter. They probably have. And as a movie studio, I'm sorry. If that's what you think is the best thing to do, I have a lot of Warner Brothers movies, but I'm sorry, I really can't respect you as a studio. And I mean, I'm not saying all their films are bad. As you can see, I have The Accountant behind me. I really like that film. That's a Warner Brothers film. I'm gonna be getting Fantastic Beasts. That's a Warner Brothers film. Creed, Warner Brothers film. Black Mass. Not a lot of people liked Black Mass. I liked it a lot. I thought it was one of the best films of 2015. That's behind me. I really like that. It's when they focus up and actually give their filmmakers the freedom to film what they want and do what they want with the movie instead of interfering with them and saying, no, we have to do this to make money because that's what we care about. That's where the most success is going to be. Not just from grabbing cash. Not just a quick cash grab. Why do you think Jupiter Ascending failed? That was a shit movie. And Warner Brothers probably, I mean, it could have been the Wachowskis. It probably was. But, I mean, Warner Brothers probably interfered with that. They're like, yeah, cash grab. And it really pains me because I really like Ben Affleck as Batman. I was one of the people that doubted him. And I saw Batman v Superman. And I was like, he was one of the two bright spots. Him and Gal Gadot in that warehouse scene are like the only things I like in that movie. So I was like, yeah, Ben Affleck. I think Ben Affleck does a really good job at portraying an older, more experienced Bruce Wayne. And Batman, except for the killing part. I don't like how Batman kills in that movie. But, I mean, that's a whole nother story. Well, if you ever see me on the streets, we'll talk about it. I think he plays a really good older Bruce Wayne and a more experienced Batman, and I really, if he's thinking about leaving, I mean, quite frankly, I don't want to see it happen. I mean, I'm not, if Wonder Woman and Justice League suck, I probably won't have any interest in seeing the Batman movie. I mean, if they suck, in my opinion, I probably won't have any interest in that movie. But I think the one thing that would probably bring me to see that movie would be Ben Affleck as Batman. I feel like he's going to try and get out of it so he doesn't have to play Batman in that movie. And if he does play Batman in that movie, it'll probably be his last time playing Batman. And I think he's a good Batman, not Christian Bale good. I mean, he might match Michael Keaton. It's sad that studios really kind of have to interfere with stuff. I mean, I get that they have creative control. I mean, Marvel has their own studio, and they have a studio head who has all creative control. He's basically the guy that says, here, you gotta do this, you gotta do this, you gotta do this. But he knows what he's doing. Kevin Feige is a brilliant man. I mean, I'm not trying to, start a war here. And by doing this, I probably am. And it sounds like I'm leaning more towards the Marvel side. And just being pissed at DC because I'm a Marvel fan. I'm not. I'm pissed as a superhero fan. That when I see my two most beloved characters, one of which has been butchered big time in 2 movies, the other one not so much. I mean, the killing part, yeah, Batman kills, not a fan. I don't want to see that. You don't have to make Superman super realistic, which is what they're trying to do. Because the Dark Knight trilogy is super realistic. Because everything now is super realistic. Superman's not supposed to be realistic. That's the thing. Superman is supposed to be the guy who takes a fight out of the city to an area where citizens can't get hurt or injured or maimed instead of getting punched through skyscrapers. It hurts that studios do this. I feel like if you want to interfere, I think Fox is kind of a victim of this too, I think. I think they've big time interfered with the Assassin's Creed movie. That's a conspiracy that I have. I mean, nobody else probably thinks that. I mean, that's just a conspiracy that I have. I mean, it happens. But I've never seen it as much as I have with Warner Brothers, which is sad. I'm just going to stop talking now because I feel like this video has rambled on way too long. I've probably pissed a lot of people off that are watching this video, and I think everybody's like, you're just a diehard Marvel fan, which, I mean, I love Marvel, but I love DC. I just don't love what DC's doing. That's the thing. I don't like how Warner Brothers is interfering with their films on almost a daily basis. That's what it seems to me. So, and just seeing that article about Ben Affleck, I mean, really, how he may quit the Batman entirely, that kind of proved to me, I was like, they have no idea what they're doing. Like, I'm sorry. Like, I want to give it a chance. I've given it 3 chances. I'll give it until Justice League, and I'm probably, I don't know if that, in my opinion, if that's bad, I probably won't last for the rest of this universe. I'm hoping that it's good. I'm hoping Wonder Woman's good. I'm praying. I have a slight slimmer of hope. I mean, I just don't. Only a slight though, because I just don't like what I've seen so far. That is it for this video, guys. There will be a couple videos you can click on at the end of this video. If you like what you've seen here, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, subscribe to our channel, and go insane with the Mag Guys.